And I'm pleased to say he's the host of Morning Glory. Matty Johns, good afternoon.
Hey, boys. What's happening?
Matthew, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Fletch.
That's good. That's good because
Good.
I don't know if you knew this. It's someone's birthday today. He's 82, and this should give you a bit of a hint as to who this gentleman is.
This watch was on your daddy's wrist when he was shot down over Hanoi. He was captured, put in a Vietnamese prison camp. He knew that this watch was your birthright, so he hid it. In one place he knew he could hide something, his ass. 5 long years he wore this watch up his ass. Then he died of dysentery. He gave me the watch. I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass. 2 years. Then, after 7 years.
It's his birthday,
So
Matthew.
good. You give me an idea. You know, I'm thinking like I'm sick for radio segments, radio prize segments, and you know, oftentimes they have the segment "What's in the Box" or "Secret Sound."
Yep.
Well, Ben Hogarth, a lot of people don't know, he's got a hobby farm on Pennant Hills Road. Our producer Ben, and he was telling me he's got a donkey there. So what I'm going to do, it's a miniature donkey. So I'm thinking of bringing it in on Friday. Every week we have we do something with donkey, put something around its neck, or we feed the donkey something, and we do what's in Ben's ass.
Oh, okay. I
like
do
that?
like it.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say Leon, but
Leon's Robert Young, mate.
just for our listeners out there, Leon is our producer. And Leon is he got hammered by Hamole.
He got leveled.
He got leveled by Leon, by Hamole. And it's gone to his head, Matthew, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, mate, he's suddenly become a celebrity. We had him in the screen mask the other night. He did his job, but he couldn't help but take the mask off just to let people know who he was.
And then started dancing in front of him, like doing Fortnite dance.
No.
Mate, people chanting, Leon, Leon. He was telling me, he said, Matty, I can't go anywhere at the moment. He said, I was in Coles, and someone came up and asked for an autograph. Mate, Leon, wake up, this idiot.
Yes.
But Christopher Walken, I watched an old Saturday Night Live recently.
Yeah.
And they asked him, I think I mentioned this one before. So he goes, what is the name of the band? And they went, it's the Foo Fighters. So he went, okay, people, here we go. Please welcome the Foo Fighters. I just love the little turn of phrase.
Hey, do you reckon he puts that voice on? Do you think when he's at home he's just...
Where's he from, Brian?
He's American.
Yeah, what part of the
American.
States, though? He's...
New York.
I'll find that out.
New York.
His
Sounds like
parents
it's a
were
New
Russian.
York accent.
Yeah, it's got a... I think he comes from the Big Apple, but his parents were Russian immigrants.
Oh.
And so maybe it's a, type of sort of Slavic,
Now, speaking of the Russians,
inflection.
Speaking of the Russians, Brian and Matthew, they made themselves quite pronounced last night in the White Lotus edition.
They did. They did.
Yes.
It's all leading. Now, we've got one episode to go, and there was little subtle hints that came through last night. Matthew, are you still on the gay talk bandwagon? Even more strong now?
With him being the shooter?
Yes.
I'm leaning towards Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. I'm leaning that way now.
Okay.
I'm leaning that way because I'm thinking that Uncle Rico will extort him, given the fact that he's got such pride in himself as a pants man. Will extort him by saying that he will let the cat out of the bag as far as he and his brother's concerned, and that will horrify him so much that he'll go on a shooting rampage.
Okay.
And I think he'll put him up to shooting the woman from the first series who knows who he is.
She's 100. Anyway, this is not great radio if people haven't watched it.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway.
Okay, before we get off that,
Yeah.
a lot of people would not have watched the episode or the show I'm talking about. Matthew, please tell me you've seen Adolescence.
Okay, fellas, I'm at the end of the second episode.
Yep.
I just had to press pause for a little bit. Your stress levels watching it. They go through the roof. Jeez, it's well done. Jeez, mate.
Well, TV better than anyone, Matthew. Like,
Sure.
how do they do that? How do they, like, you're late in a show.
You mean one take?
One take, one shot, and then late in the piece is a kid who's acting. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I reckon, Joel, it'd be like theatre. I'd say what they've done is they built it around it, like built it basically the same as a theatre production.
Yeah.
And, they lop off the, one shot and then just away you go. You're up there, and I suppose, how do they do it? Well, they just tell the stars, if you want to be part of it, this is what you have to do, and it makes them learn their lines inside out. The kids in particular, like the young bloke who is accused at the moment, he's particularly phenomenal.
Now, look, I don't know what you're talking about because my TV is stuck on channel 502 Fox League. So I watch NRL 360, followed by Matty and Cronk.
Oh.
Why isn't it Johns and Cronk?
I know, good question. It was originally Johns and Cronk, and they thought it sounded too dour, like Johns and Cronk. So they went Matty and Cronk.
Yeah, it's sort of, that's a good inflection. Anyway,
Yes.
I was watching it intently because I'm doing a fast. Matthew pulled out.
Yes.
Because he's a cat.
Yeah, I did.
Anyway, Matthew, you're not buying the Bulldogs. They're out of contention for DCE. You think Gus might have something like a rabbit pulled out of his sauna or something?
A hair out of his sauna. Mate, boys, you just know, how clever Gus is. Nothing would surprise. And the two men, I think the Titans and the Dogs are sleepers. Like, I think there's no doubt that the Dolphins and particularly the Chooks are the favourites. But there's two blokes, Phil Gould and Des Hasler, who both love just flying underneath the radar and would not be projecting their intentions at all. In fact, if they're going hard, they'll remain even quieter. So I just refuse to believe that they're ruled out. Well, more so the Bulldogs. Having said all that, I must say Toby Sexton, boys, is looking more and more like a pure number 7 every time I see him play. He's fantastic. He's poised, everything about him. But, back to the original point, I wouldn't rule the Dogs out completely.
Chromie, please, tourist. Chromie. Okay, hate to change topic.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, you and I are pulling the tail of a horse here.
Yes.
Berkshire Shadow, we were offered a share in the horse.
Correct.
It's about to run around at $13 here. Sorry, Matthew.
That's all right.
But Mick Gannon has been in
crack.
scintillating form.
Okay.
He is declaring amenable.
All right.
The
so
number
what,
2.
Hang on, you confuse me. What are we doing?
No, I'm saying that we're pulling the tail of Berkshire Shadow.
Yeah.
We were offered a share in the horse. But I'm saying the tip is amenable at around $5. Chances are you're about to lose. But anyway, sorry, Matthew, I had to share with the listeners.
Amenable. One sec, boys. I'll just get that on.
Amenable.
Now, Matthew, did you speak to Cooper Cronk, your colleague? Did you ask him about, with the DC rumours going to the Chooks, did you get in depth about why he went to the Roosters and how they did it and how they kept it so secret? Did you ask him?
He spoke to me about it. He said that he had a number of clubs that were really interested. Actually, I'm writing about it this week. He said he had a number of clubs that were really interested. He said there was a couple of things that sold it around the Chooks. Primarily the fact that when he looked at it, he thought, this team is the most likely who are after me that can win a competition.
Gotcha.
But he also said, mate, that just the sell that Nick did. He said it was it got him excited about the club. He sat down and sort of went right through. Spoke a lot about the history. He actually said, Cooper, and I'm sort of giving away my article, but I'll just say it anyway.
It's good. We're exclusive.
Cooper said, I remember meeting with Nick in 2000, Fletch, going in the 2001 series season, and I'd already made up my mind that I was going to Wigan, but John Fordham, the late great John Fordham, said, no, we'll just meet with Nick, showing the respect. I said, yep, no problem. Mate, Nick sat there, and before talking any money or anything, just spoke about the history of the club and Jack and Arthur Beetson. And, mate, I was sitting there and I had to tell him, hey, Nick, stop, because basically, mate, my dream was to play for Wigan, and the more he spoke, the more that dream was subsiding. And I just said, mate, if I'd have let him reach his conclusion, I might have signed right there.
Wow.
And Cooper was very, very similar. Cooper said that what happened, when he was right on the cusp of signing, there was a knock on his front door, and it was a courier, and handed him this package, and inside the package was history of the Eastern Suburbs Roosters.
Wow. Jeez,
and Nick said, just read the chapter on 1974 and 1975.
And they did that.
And they went back-to-back those 2 years, and he went there and went back-to-back. He said when he got that book, that sort of sealed it.
Hey, Matty, speaking about going back-to-back, and I love that story, I wonder whether Daley Cherry Evans would seek counsel in Cooper Cronk. And talking about going back-to-back, so Mark Zara, right, who we now know as a Melbourne Cup winning jockey, in 2022, Glenn Boss had suggested to him, take the Ride of Gold trip. So he takes the Ride of Gold trip for Australian Bloodstock, wins the race. 12 months later, he's offered the ride naturally for the defending champ Gold Trip, which is the number one saddlecloth. And Glenn Boss says, I think you got to go on this horse without a fight. Jumps off Gold Trip.
Wow.
Wins back-to-back. I just wonder, if it hasn't happened, Matt, I've never called you Matt. If it hasn't happened, would or should Daley seek counsel in Cooper Cronk? Very similar scenario.
Yeah, if I was Daley, I probably would. It's funny, they're both very similar characters, actually, Daley and Cooper, just in their demeanour, and they're pretty straight up blokes. I reckon he might. I think it'd be smart to. I mean, it's pretty amazing when Cooper went there.
Yeah,
talking about Coop said when he first went to the Roosters, he found it really difficult because he was trying to play Melbourne Storm type football, and he said it was just completely different. He said, I was expecting Teddy to be Billy, and he was never going to be, and he said he had to adjust his football, and so it'd be interesting. I look, for me, the favourites are the Chooks. On the second tier, I just, you know what, I know there's all the fairy tale going, but I just don't see him at the Dolphins. I just don't. For whatever reason, I'll probably be wrong here, but I just don't see it. I just see him at the Roosters. And if hypothetically, if he does sign at the Roosters, I'm just curious. I'd love a penny for the thoughts of Sam Walker, because Sam Walker, when he comes back from this ACL, will assume control of this football side. DC will be fantastic and, again, advancing his football education. But will he be happy going back to being the deputy again?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Fletch?
Well, just going back to that, I don't think the Roosters are anywhere near the side they were in 18-19.
No.
So when Daley wants to win a competition, Cooper had it all. Everything was lined up for him.
Well, that's where I'll go, Brian.
I don't think there is a strong chance as, say, a Canterbury winning.
Let me ask you both this, then. And in your chats, Matty, with Cooper Cronk, if he was the Glenn Boss in this scenario and he had one last crack at a Melbourne Cup, who is Daley Cherry Evans choosing? Who's that team that he should choose?
I said, if the four teams I've spoken about, if I was Daley Cherry Evans, it'd be a no-brainer. I'd be going to the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
If the Bulldogs were after me or just showing some interest, mate, I'd be driving out to Belmore now.
Wow.
Because I think I started this season saying that if they make the finals again this year, that's a great season for them. If second week of the finals, fantastic. But now I'm starting to watch the way they're defending and the way they're playing, and you're going, mate, they're starting to look like a top four side.
Lachlan Galvin, Matty, the Roosters have declared they've got no interest, but I still don't believe it. Do you feel the five? Well, it's reported. Danny Wilder reported that it's about $1 million a year for 5 years. Do you feel, one, that he's worth it, and two, do you think it would be a wise decision to give a young kid, this much money?
Geez, that's a. Look. This is what happens is when someone like Dylan Brown got $14 million for 10 years, the market just goes crazy, and people just start panic buying, or covert buying back in the day when they were just stealing bog rolls everywhere like that. But people are just jumping over themselves trying to, so they don't miss out. They want a playmaker, and they're willing to spend big money and gamble on potential, because that's what it is with Lachlan. He's to sign him to that sort of money is a big gamble, no doubt about it. I think the kid will be a star. To what extent? The guy he reminds me most of at this age is Wade Graham. just the way he holds himself and gets around the park and everything. It really, like Wade Graham was a 5'8" coming through, who ended up going into the back row. He just reminds me so much of Wader.
And he was a kid with a perpetual smile, like Lachlan Galvin. They didn't care. They were happy to be there. Good on you, Matty. We've got to chat.
I will say this. I really hope the Tigers can hang on to him.
Yeah. But the Roosters, just to reiterate, Roosters are definitely out. You won't be seeing
no interest whatsoever.
None, no way.
That's right. Until that parcel turns up on the doorstep, turning to page 74. Good on you, Matty.
Good on you,
See
lads.
you, Matthew.
What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans.